What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and today we're gonna have a conversation about getting it right the first time. And if you enjoy these conversations with me on different opinions that I have in the music industry, or just getting my perspective as a musician on different topics, then make sure you're hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. So, getting into things, I want you to kind of think of certain aspects of your life as an artist, or as a person in general, but mainly as an artist, what you think you should be getting correct the first time you try it out or the first time you perform it. And one of the biggest examples we tend to come up with is an actual performance, meaning getting on stage, playing your song, performing your song or your recital or whatever it is, right? Ideally, and in a magical world, we would like to be able to do that the first time and get it done perfectly, if not close to perfection, right? And let's try to take a look at how that works and what it really takes to do that. It's not impossible, but it does take a bit of preparation. And that's one of the key concepts and systems you're going to have to really develop for yourself as an artist. So when we think of preparation, right? Preparation is usually something that has very, very, very small steps that come together to get a very big result. So if you're thinking of, let's say, a meal, right? If you want to make a pizza, you have to get the dough ready, get the sauce ready, get the cheese ready, and then chop any vegetables or toppings you want. And that's the preparation you need to begin the process, which would be the cooking of the pizza at your performance, along with eating the pizza. It has to taste good, meaning you're performing in front of your audience and they enjoy what they're hearing or seeing, right? And so now that we kind of have an understanding of like preparation and what it kind of takes to get to a result, how do we make sure we're getting something correct the first time? Well, usually with most things we're trying to do, someone has done it before or someone has gotten close to it. It's very rare you're going to find something that you have discovered. You're the one human that found out, you know, the cure to whatever crazy disease there is, right? But in reality, there's somebody who has either gotten close to the result you want or give you inspiration on how to get to the result you want, or has taken the exact steps needed to get you to the result you want. And so once we consider that, now we can look at, again, the steps they take in their own preparation. So for musicians, a lot of times, especially when we're young or getting started, picking up an instrument or skill, we look at people who are really, really good at what we want to do. And then we try to rationalize how quickly they got there, how much of an exponential growth it took for them to get there. And we also try to think about how complex and difficult it is to maintain certain skills in general. And so to give you an example, that would be like a young girl, maybe she's in school or something like that. She's going to a concert and she sees a singer, and the lady singing on stage is singing really well musically, meaning she's in tune, she's hitting all her notes correctly, she's cutting off her notes correctly, she's working with and alongside interdependently with the band and things like that, right? She looks great, she sounds great, the audience is responding, appropriately and things like that. So once you see all these things happen in motion for a younger artist, meaning like a newer, lesser experienced one, because you could be 40 trying to learn the guitar and be in the same situation. But for a younger artist, that can be kind of overwhelming to try to rationalize in real time. And that's where going to school kind of helps you. You get to kind of surround yourself with people at different levels of experiences, especially from your professor or teacher and all the way down to your class of newbies. And so, if we were to break down some of the things that maybe a really good vocalist would need to be successful, the steps they're taking are easy, but they need to be consistent, which is a character trait. And they also have to be intentional, which is going to take some kind of you know direction with the actions they take. So there's three things you need to really focus on as an artist. You need to know what to do, you need to be able to do them consistently, and you need to know why you're doing them. So whatever it is, you can be a rock gothic bagpipe player, it doesn't matter, right? If you're going to do that, you need to know what steps it takes to be successful in that. You need to know if those steps are something you can do consistently, and you need to know why you want to take these steps. And that's going to be able to kind of clear up any confusion you might come into as a younger artist, especially when you see other performers or people working in the music industry and you're kind of like, wow, that seems like a really cool job, or maybe they're really good at what they do. You'll be able to kind of see through those three categories on how they've developed success. So going back to our singer example, the steps she would be taking to be a great performer, let's just pick a few of them, right? Um, she would have to understand breath control, right? Just for the job of singing, you would have to understand how to breathe properly, when to breathe properly. The next thing would be understanding music theory, meaning she would have to know what notes to sing, how to sing them, and when to sing them. And I would say the last thing would have to be alongside like her physical health and aesthetic, because a part of being a singer and vocalist that's like on a stage is your visuals and being, presentable. It doesn't have to be anything particular, but you want to be in control of it, right? And so let's take a look at those steps. So obviously she's going to have to practice the ability to sing, which is what I would label under breath control, right? So things like learning about the history of breath control for singers, some of the different techniques needed for proper breath control. Um, do you have a heavy demand for breath control in your music? Some vocalists have music that is like very loud or takes a lot of energy, and so they're gonna have to practice a particular way to pull off their performances. Where some people they're cool with kind of like what I'm doing here, where I can talk, just kind of take breaths as I need them. I don't really need to train as hard as somebody who's going to be singing in opera. And then on the other hand, the music theory is always going to be like a tool that any musician is going to, have in their toolkit that's going to elevate them above others. So that's the difference between having a singer who knows whether or not she's in tune or not, whether or not she's in the right key, if she's singing in the proper mode and things like that. Whether or not she can transpose notes or other instrumentalists. So, for example, if you're singing with a piano player, right? As a singer, if you're just, never been trained and just like to sing and you can play singing by ear, knowing what notes you're singing isn't as important for you. But if you have to tell me what note to play, then that's where you need to have your music theory um, utilized. Or if you're working with two different musicians that work with two different transpositions, meaning that a piano player doesn't play the same keys as a saxophone player, but a singer, if they are untrained, has to be able to tell the piano player and the saxophone player what notes they need to play. Or they can all three of them try to play by ear and just match notes from each other. But what music theory does is it speeds that process up. You will have a language and vocabulary to be able to communicate with each other efficiently. So you could tell your piano player as a singer, oh, we're in the key of C and the chords are 2, 5, 1, and we're gonna basically have certain number of measures. You can explain all of that to your piano player, and your piano player can explain all of that to your saxophone player if they all have an understanding of the language. Now, if all of you are untrained, you're gonna have to basically kind of just play your notes in front of each other and wait until they match, and that's just going to slow down the learning process. So you would have to sing a note, your piano players are going to have to ding keys until he matches, and then go, okay, cool, that's the first note, and then you have to do that for the entire song. So that's the really big benefit to understanding music theory, is you get a language to be able to communicate with people to get the song completed, to actually move a direction towards whatever you want to do creatively. And the last thing would be like your aesthetic, your health, and things like that. So most people, they'll look at like a pretty singer or something like that and think she just woke up, rolled out of bed, and just had a magical voice and just got on stage. Like, no, there's actually a lot of intention that goes into most vocalists, whether it's male or female. Like, you're gonna notice that their hair has a certain look, their face has a certain look, meaning like their beard is shaped a certain way. If it's a woman, she has a certain makeup look she's going for that performance. The clothes have to fit a certain way, and all of this plays a big role into the performance, because again, when it comes to the food analogy, when the person is eating your dish, that is also a part of the performance of you cooking the dish. So you have to cook it properly, have good ingredients, and they got to enjoy it when it's finally ready. And that plays a role in it. How you look on stage, how you uh, present your energy on stage. So again, health plays a role, because if you're meant to be a front facing vocalist and somebody who's going to be on stage, and you're depressed or you're sad or you're in a low energy, lethargic, or any of these, very negative words, you're going to deliver that same energy through your performance, and they're going to be able to tell. So in a food analogy, that would be like getting cold pizza. Like, it could be cooked perfect to the perfection, and the cheese is melty and all that stuff, but it sat in the fridge for 30 minutes. So it's a little different. It's just a little off. So this was helpful to you and you think you can lean a little something from this as an artist or a musician, let me know. And hit that like, share, and subscribe buttons, and also leave a comment in the below in the video, so that way I can answer some of your questions relating to maybe some of the things you're struggling with as an artist, as it pertains to getting things correct the first time. Because all of these steps that you're going to be able to layer up on top of each other is basically going to prepare you to be able to say, ready, set, go, and perform. And whether or not people like your pizza is up to whether or not, you gave them what they're asking for. And that's a completely different video. But like I said, if you enjoyed this, make sure you let me know in the comments. But I'm out.